Drachen. Written by Brendan Grange. Narrated by Adrian Galley. An audio shelf production. For Bridget and Acacia. In memory of Kevin Allen Moore. Chapter 1. Kalev was running. Roots grabbed his ankles, leaves slapped his face, branches picked threads from his jacket. He noticed none of it. He was focused, isolated from the insect calls that died and were resurrected by his coming and going. He was deep in a disorientating porcupine's back of silver birch trees, but that didn't slow him down either. He knew forests like this. He had grown up near one and become a killer in another. To his left, a branch cracked under another running foot. He adjusted his course, but didn't ease up. On the contrary, this is what he lived for. It didn't matter that she was nimbler than him, that her small frame was less harassed in the narrow paths between the trees. He would catch his prey. He barked a command to the two men behind him, eager for the woman to hear his words and know her approaching fate. The men shouted their acknowledgments as they spread to outflank her, and Kalev kept running. Brett was exhausted, running on adrenaline. She needed to stop, to rest, to breathe. Just to stand still long enough to kill one of those damn mosquitoes would be a blessing. But the men were so close. She could hear their crass movements in the quiet moments between each beat of her heart. Their shouts, like the baying of wolves, chilled the humid night. And then there were the trees, which, like the men, seemed to be all around her, constricting her from all sides. She had to find a way through. She had to keep running. Or stop. For a moment, Brett thought of doing just that, of closing her eyes and giving up. But no, not when all she had to show for her work was a bag of trinkets and a tangle of unanswered questions. She would run. She had given up on hope, though. Hope was for people running towards something, and she was running away. She had fear, and she was okay with that. Brett burst into a small clearing, illuminated by a cloud-shaded moon, 20 short seconds of unhindered progress. And then she re-entered the woods, risking a backwards glance just before she did. 3 torches blinked a warning, not far enough behind. At least she had crested the hill, and now the mulchy ground was sloping downwards, towards the ferry pier. It didn't matter. She had to keep running. Brett had been on the run for nearly 5 hours, and her body would give no more. She stumbled to her left, lurched forward, then stopped. And then she heard it again, the soft and melodious gurgle of water. And suddenly she found more energy. A river would offer an unimpeded route down. Brett shoved through the brambles that grew in a tight weave alongside the path, enduring their barbs, but cursing the delay, until their resistance broke dramatically. She slid down a steep, muddy bank and into a shallow stream. She cursed again, knelt for a quick drink, and then pressed on. She was cold and wet and terrified, but the path in front of her was open. Soon she was even running again, her feet finding the river stones with more confidence than she had reason to expect. Brett ran for 20 minutes like that, before she skidded to a stop. 10 meters ahead, the stream began to growl and froth, and 10 meters beyond that, in a thundering crescendo, it plunged over a cliff and out of sight. Her body froze. She didn't want it to, and she fought her rigid limbs, but only her head would move. It spun left and right and backwards, looking for another way. She focused her entire consciousness on her left foot and moved it a step forward, then switched her attention to her right foot, begging it to follow. Her heart worked itself into a frenzy. No, she couldn't do it. She couldn't get any closer. The cliff would be too high. She just knew it would. Kalev scanned the clearing. Spring in Finland meant a long twilight, which, complemented by the glow of his headlamp, revealed a scene in grey monochrome. A rectangular meadow 100 meters long and half as wide. 2 good sniper positions, both unmanned. Knee-high grass shifting in the breeze, its pattern uniform and undisturbed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?